Two people, dead inside a sealed New Mexico mansion. One of their dogs was dead in a closet. No forced entry, no call for help. No one is checking in for 2 weeks. And Gene Hackman, a 95-year-old screen legend, was found collapsed near his own kitchen door. The internet was certain someone had gotten to them. Foul play, a cover-up, a scene that did not add up. But the truth investigators finally confirmed is stranger than any theory in the comments, and far sadder. It began as an ordinary welfare check. On the afternoon of February 26, 2025, maintenance and security workers arrived at the couple's home on the edge of Santa Fe. One of them had grown uneasy because Betsy Arakawa, Hackman's wife, had simply stopped answering messages about fireproofing work on the property. A pest control technician happened to be there the same day for a routine perimeter treatment. When deputies entered the roughly 9,000 square foot home, they found Hackman on the floor of a mudroom near the kitchen, a cane and sunglasses beside him, as if he had fallen without warning. Arakawa lay in a bathroom on the far side of the house, near a space heater, an open pill bottle, and scattered tablets on the counter. The two of them were in completely separate areas of the home. Both bodies were already decomposing, and one of her hands had begun to mummify, the kind of change that only happens after many days. The condition of the remains told investigators these were not recent deaths. The breakthrough that pinned down the timeline came from inside Hackman's own chest. He wore a pacemaker, implanted back in 2019, and that device kept a quiet record of everything his heart did. Its last logged activity was February 18th, an abnormal rhythm just before it went silent. That single data point meant Hackman had likely been dead for more than a week before anyone opened that door. And it answered a question thousands of people would later ask online. No, the pacemaker did not call for help. It only stored the data, waiting to be read after the fact. But if Gene died on the 18th, a harder question opened up. When exactly did his wife die? This is where the case stopped behaving like the story everyone assumed. Hackman and Arakawa had not died together. Her last outgoing communication, an email, was sent on February 11th. After that, nothing. No messages, no calls, no activity of any kind. Investigators concluded she had died roughly a week before her husband, in a different room on a different day. The picture so many people had in their heads, an elderly couple slipping away peacefully side by side, was simply wrong. They died separately, about 7 days apart, under the same roof. And that left the exact mystery the comment sections kept circling back to. If Betsy were decades younger, the one who drove, shopped, and managed their lives, then what killed her first? Her final known day looked almost completely normal. Security cameras captured Arakawa on February 11th, visiting a pet food store and a grocery store, running errands while wearing a medical mask. That same morning, at 10:24, she emailed her massage therapist to cancel an upcoming appointment. In it, she explained that Gene had woken up with flu or cold-like symptoms, that he had tested negative for COVID, and that she wanted to reschedule out of an abundance of caution. Every word of it points in one direction. Betsy Arakawa believed her husband was the one who was sick. She was quietly arranging her life around his health, careful and responsible and completely unaware. But the symptoms she was describing were not really his story. A look at her own computer made that almost unbearable to read. For days before she died, between February 8th and the morning of the 12th, Arakawa had been searching the internet for answers. As early as February 10th, she typed in questions about the flu and nosebleeds, then about COVID and nosebleeds barely a minute later, and then about whether COVID could cause dizziness, one query following another. She searched for breathing techniques. Investigators even found a discarded COVID test box in the trash. On the morning of the 12th, she looked up a concierge medical service in Santa Fe and called it. A call that lasted under 2 minutes. Later that afternoon, the service tried to call her back. She never answered. She was researching a set of symptoms with growing worry, never realizing she was describing the early hours of the thing that was about to kill her. Because it was never the flu, and it was never COVID. The autopsy revealed that Betsy Arakawa died of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, a rare, rodent-borne illness most people have never heard of. It spreads through contact with the droppings, urine, or saliva of infected mice, and it is brutally deceptive. It opens like an ordinary flu, with aches, fever, headaches, and dizziness. Then, sometimes within a day or two, the lungs begin to fill with fluid and breathing collapses. There is no cure, only supportive care, and it has to be caught early to stand a chance. In New Mexico, where the virus lives mainly in deer mice, officials counted 136 cases over 50 years, and more than 4 in 10 of them were fatal. The only question left was how it ever reached her. The answer was hiding on their own land. After the deaths, the New Mexico Department of Health assessed the property and found the warning signs everywhere. Rodent droppings in 3 separate garages, evidence of mice in 2 of the smaller guest houses. 3 sheds were left open enough for rodents to move through freely. The home sat in the Pinon and Juniper Hills above Santa Fe, where mice are simply part of the landscape, but here, the activity was heavy enough that health officials flagged the estate as a genuine exposure risk. A gated, private, multi-million-dollar property, carrying an invisible danger in its own outbuildings. Betsy died on the 11th, and yet her husband's heart kept beating for another full week. How? This is the part of the story that is hardest to sit with. Hackman's autopsy showed a body barely holding together, severe hypertensive and atherosclerotic heart disease, a history of congestive heart failure, evidence of prior heart attacks, an aortic valve replacement, stents, and a pacemaker doing what it could. But it was his brain that reframed everything. The examination revealed advanced Alzheimer's disease. Based on that finding, investigators reached a conclusion that is both simple and devastating. Gene Hackman most likely did not understand that his wife had died. He may have moved through that house for days beside her, unable to grasp what had happened, unable to make the single phone call that could have brought help. So what did that final week actually look like for him? The forensic details sketch it in cold, plain strokes. Toxicology found a low level of acetone in Hackman's system, a marker consistent with prolonged fasting, meaning he very likely had not eaten in a long time. Picture a 95-year-old man with a failing heart and a mind that could no longer hold on to a timeline. Alone, in a large, silent house, his wife already gone in another room. No one came. No one called. The phone still worked. The doors were not locked from the outside. There was simply no one left inside who could understand that something had gone terribly wrong. On February 18th, his worn-out heart finally stopped, and the last reading on his pacemaker went flat. But there was still one more body in that house to explain. The dog is the detail that drove the comment sections wild, and it has the quietest explanation of all. One of the couple's 3 dogs, an Australian Kelpie mix named Zinnia, was found dead in a crate in a small room off the bathroom, near Arakawa. A state veterinary lab tied her death to dehydration and starvation. People online kept asking why anyone would lock one dog away while 2 others roamed free, and they smelled foul play. But that detail is the answer, not the mystery. Zinnia was crated, confined, and unable to reach food or water once the person who cared for her was gone. The other 2 dogs were loose in the house, and they survived. Nothing sinister put that dog in the crate. The household simply stopped functioning around her. So why did this ever look like a murder? At the very start, it genuinely did. A search warrant described the scene as suspicious. 2 bodies, a dead dog, scattered pills, no contact for weeks. The sheriff's office moved carefully, and Sheriff Aiden Mendoza said early on that while he was fairly confident there was no foul play, he was not ruling anything out. The family's first fear was carbon monoxide, which testing quickly cleared. There was no forced entry, no trauma, and no sign of theft. And despite a viral headline claiming the FBI had uncovered something shocking, there was no FBI investigation at all. Only a county sheriff and a state medical examiner, patiently working backward through the evidence. The facts simply refused to become a thriller. In the end, both deaths were ruled natural. No killer, no intruder, no conspiracy. Just a sequence almost no one could have written. A hidden virus carried by mice, a wife who mistook it for her husband's cold, a husband whose illness erased his ability to even know she was gone, and a crate of dogs that could not outlast the silence. What unsettles people is not that the answer is complicated. It is that it is so ordinary and so complete. Two people who shared 30 years vanished from the world for more than 2 weeks, inside a gated mansion. And the only thing keeping their absence a secret was that no one was close enough to notice. That is the part that should actually keep you up at night. How long would it take before anyone noticed you were gone? Subscribe. The next case is stranger.